Okay, so first challenge, we will have the union between the intersection of A prime and B and the intersection between A and B prime. So as you can see here, this is the symmetric difference. So first we have to find the main operator, right? Which is going to decide how we are going to shape the Venn diagram. So the thing in the middle, which is the union, is the main operator. Then we can use different colors to represent this and this. So let's say we have this and this, right? So first we want to find the intersection between A prime and B. So A prime is just everything that's outside A. And B is just B. So as you can see here, the part with crisscross lines is the intersection between A prime and B. So only this part has crisscross lines. So we can kind of shape this part. Then next we have the intersection between A and B prime. So B prime is just everything outside B. And A is just A. As you can see here, the intersection between A and B prime is also the crisscross lines, the section in the crisscross lines. So it is this section. So since it's a union, it's just the two added together. So it's this and this. Okay, so next problem, we have the prime of the intersection of the prime of the union of A and B prime and with the union of A prime and B. So first, you must also find the main operator, right? So the intersection is the main operator, and you have to worry about this complement over here. So that means that if we solve this part already without this thing, so when we add this thing, we cannot shade the areas that are already shaded, and we must shade the areas that are not originally shaded. So first we have to do the harder one first. So obviously the one with the prime, the extra prime is way harder. So you have the union of A and B prime. So A is just this part. And B prime is just this part right outside B. Since it's a union, right, we must take the areas that are not, since it's a union, we can take all the areas that are shaded, but then since you have the prime over here, we cannot shade the areas that are already shaded, and we must shade the area that isn't shaded right now. So it's this one. So if you can erase whatever's here, you can make it a bit neater. So erase this. and we can shape this part. Okay, next we have the union of A prime and B. So I'll just use a different stroke. So A prime is just this part, and B is just this part. So the intersection between the shaded portions are just this. So this part is the intersection. But then since there's a prime over here, we cannot shade this. Instead, we have to shade the rest except the shaded part, which is this. So everything except this part should be shaded. So it's this part. Yeah, so the blue parts are the solution for this Venn diagram thingy. So next this is a triple Venn diagram with 3 sets and 1 universal set. So we are supposed to find the union between the intersection of A and B prime and the intersection between C prime and the union between A and B. So I have to find the most important operator. So it's this union over here. There are 2 sets over here. So you have to always do the harder one first. So you have the intersection between C prime. So it's just everything outside C. And the union between A and B. So it's this part. So we have to find the intersection. So it's only those with crisscross lines. And this is the intersection. This part over here. So you can erase the rest. And next, we have to find the intersection between A and B prime. So A is just this part. And B prime is just everything outside B. So this part. So as you can see, since it's the intersection, you have to find those with crisscross lines. So only this part has crisscross line. And since it's a union, so this part you add it with this part as well from the other Venn diagram. So it's just this. So next we have this. So we have the intersection of A prime, the union between A prime and C, and the union between B and C prime, and there's another prime over here that we have to take note of. So we have to find the main operator. So it's this intersection over here. Then this will be the harder one, and this will be the easier one. So for the hard one, we have to do the union between B, which is just this part, and C prime, which is just the outside part. So since there's a prime over here, we have to shade the areas that are not shaded. So it's this part. We can erase the rest. So next you have to find the union between A prime and C. So C is just this part. And A prime is just this part outside. So the intersection between these two is just this part. So lastly, we have this complex equation over here, right? Or this Venn diagram that we have to draw. So we have to find the intersection of the union of A prime and B prime, and between the union of the intersection of A and C prime and the intersection of B prime and C. So this thing is really complex because there are three diagrams that you have to draw first before we can decide what to actually incorporate into our final Venn diagram. So we have to split this up into two parts. So the harder one will obviously be the first part, and the easier one will be the second part, with the main operator being the intersection. So if we draw like a Venn diagram representing the first part, this A, B, C. So we have to find the union of the intersection between A which is just this, and C prime, which is just everything outside C. And since this part has crisscross lines, we can add that into our first diagram. Then the second part is the intersection of B prime and C. So C is just this part, and B prime is just everything outside B. So as you can see here, this part has red crisscross lines. So you have to incorporate this part as well. So this part will be our first Venn diagram that we have to draw. Then you have to draw a second one as well. So the first part that we drew is this part. Then second, we have to draw the union of A prime and B prime. So A prime is just everything outside A, which is this part. And B prime is just everything outside B. You have to find the intersection, right? So the intersection is the shaded parts that has the red ink and the pencil markings inside. So it's just this part.